Hello everyone and welcome to week 22. So today we are going to discuss your thoughts about the speaking and listening task, and if you've chosen to do it, what your topic is. Understand the requirements for paper 2, question 5. So we talked a little bit about that last week, but we're going to go into more detail today. Identify persuasive writing techniques. So you looked at that letter from Marcus Rashford for homework. So we'll discuss your findings there. And then you're going to be writing persuasively. And then also we're going to review the boats, question 3 from your assessment in the same way that we did for question 2 last week. So let's start with the speaking and listening. So have you decided about your talk? So please pause the video now and discuss your ideas on chat. Great, hope you had lots of lovely topics for us to watch. So what you need to do is to complete the form on Classroom, which will tell us what your chosen topic is. Great, and we'll tell you the date for when you're going to be doing your speaking and listening when we've decided. Okay, so let's move on to paper 2, question 5. So what do you have to do for this question? You are going to be asked to write a piece of non-fiction to persuade. The question will say something like to persuade your reader, or to argue, or to explain. Essentially, they can't mean the same thing. The task is going to be linked to the topic you've been looking at for question 1 and for questions 1 to 4 of that paper. So they're usually linked in some way. Occasionally there's just sort of a random question, but it just means that there's some ideas in the reading tasks that you can use in your own writing. So, for example, about the cyclists, you could use some of the information that you're told in the article, the modern article, to put into your own writing. So you don't need to know anything about cycling, or you don't need to have any previous knowledge about cycling to be able to complete this question effectively. So you're given a statement. So, for example, this is the cyclists one. Cars are noisy, dirty, smelly, and downright dangerous. They should be banned from all towns and city centres, allowing people to walk and cycle in peace. So you're given that statement. It's usually quite a controversial statement, and then you're told what to do. So write a letter to the Minister for Transport arguing your point of view on this statement. So either you agree that cars are noisy, dirty, smelly, and downright dangerous and should be banned, or you disagree, and you're going to give your point of view on that statement. So it's good for this question is to go back and to think about TAP. Do you remember TAP? What is it, and what is the TAP for this question? So you're going to type your answers to that into your chat. So pause here and type your answers to what is the TAP for this question. Okay, lovely. So how are you marked? So very similar to paper 1, question 5, is that they're split in the same way for content, for what you're writing about, and your technical accuracy, which we sometimes called SPAG, spelling, punctuation and grammar. So for content, very similar, as you can see. So register is convincing, you've got a good tone. Is it matched to purpose? Are you persuading your audience? Your use of vocabulary and linguistic devices. So are you using lots of language to persuade, essentially? Use of structural features. So are you using some of those structural features in your own writing? Have you got a good introduction and conclusion? Does it look like a letter, or does it look like an article? You're marked on your range of ideas. So have you got a good complex range of ideas? and are your paragraphs, are you using paragraphs, and are they linked? And those are all things that we're going to be discussing over the next few weeks. So for that, you get 24 marks. And technical accuracy. So are you writing correct sentences? Are you using a range of punctuation? Are you using different sentence forms? Are you using long sentences or short sentences for effect? Uses standard English consistency. How's your grammar? And spelling, and again, your use of vocabulary. So it's the same split of 24 and 16, which makes a total of 40 marks for question 5. So your homework was to look at the Marcus Rashford letter and to identify the persuasive language features. So what we'd like you to do is to pause the video here and share your ideas in chat. Which bits of language that he used jump out at you in there, and how are they persuading you to, if you were an MP, how are they persuading you to do what he asked? So pause now. Hello, welcome back. Hopefully you've had lots of ideas. I'm going to show you what I thought. This isn't an exhaustive list of all the persuasive language features that he used, but these are the ones that jumped out at me and the ones that I liked about it. So I thought he opened up nicely with his own personal story. So that's telling us how he got to where he is, and that also he showed us that he's experienced these difficulties himself, so his opinion matters. He's got the right to speak about these things because he's got personal experience of it. He then went into talking about some of the facts that he the things that he did to help. So saying that, well, I've done these things to help child poverty, so you can do something too as a politician. And he also sort of addressed his readers, or mentioned that he knows he's talking to politicians, so this is not about politics. So he's writing to MPs, he's writing to all MPs, so on both sides of the party. So he's saying it's not about your political views, which he also repeats that idea here, political affirmations aside. So he's sort of trying to get them onto his side. But I also thought this whole sentence was lovely. This is not about politics, this is about humanity. It's a short sentence as well, a shorter sentence, which is nice as well. But thought that difference between it's not about politics, this is about humanity. So that's a contrast. Sometimes we call that a juxtaposition. And also the repetition of this is not, this is about. And both of those things are sort of emphasising that it's not about that. It's not about politics. It's about people and their lives, and it makes the political side of it less important. That was a nice sentence. And here again, here he asks a rhetorical question. So he's making his readers think and agree with him. And surely I'd hope there's not many people in the world that would say that it's okay for a child to be going to bed hungry. So again, he's sort of empathising with his readers, making his readers empathise with him. He then goes on to use some facts to give weight to his argument, or to make his argument stronger. So 1.3 million children in England are registered for free school meals. 1/4 of those children have not been given any support. So it's backing up, it's showing how real this situation is. I am asking you to listen to their parents' story. So he's really commanding his readers to take action and to do something. He then here as well, done there, this. I've listened when fathers have told me they're struggling with depression, unable to sleep, worried sick about how they're going to support their families. Head teachers who are personally covering the cost of food packages for their vulnerable families after the school debit card have maxed out. Mothers who can't cover the cost of increased electricity and food bills, and parents who are sacrificing their own meals for the children. So he's giving there examples of real life situations. It's easy just to say, oh, 1.3 million families are having difficulties. But if you're giving sort of a face to those facts and figures, then it makes it more relatable and more you want to be able to help. And also, as well, on top of that, that long sentence, which is very difficult to read, physically very difficult to read, but also very difficult emotionally to read. So all of those people that are having those struggles. So that's a really long sentence for effect, which is that length of the sentence reflects how many people are being affected by this. I thought then he goes on to adding to his personal anecdotes. So he started with that, and then throughout he keeps sort of adding to it just to explain more about he would have been one of these statistics if he was a child today. Again, another rhetorical question. Rhetorical questions can be very persuasive. He then goes on here to give a rule 3. So men, women, caregivers are all calling out for our help. So emphasising how many people are affected. So it's like building up on that, from facts and statistics to giving real life people and carrying on and expanding on that. Here he gives a counter argument. So I also received a tweet from an MP who told me this is why there's a benefit system. So we don't need to do anything because there's a benefit system. So again, we're going to go on to this later on in the course, but sometimes using the opposite argument to the one that you want can reinforce your own argument. So that's another good technique to do. And again, more facts to back up his points. And then another couple of paragraphs adding to his own personal story and why he's here writing this letter. And then there's some nice emotive language. So I encourage you to hear there, please. And then again, asking the reader to take action. Please reconsider your decision to cancel the food voucher system. Some more emotive language. This is an issue that needs urgent assistance. So putting that urgent in there gives that sense of urgency. Can't think of a better word. And then there's a little metaphor here at the end. Please, while the eyes of the nation are on you. So telling us that so many people out there all agree with him and that they should act because they represent us. So there's some of the language that I've found, and maybe you found different ones, and we've all discussed that in your chat. Okay, that was just some of the ones that we found. I think the most important ones there was giving his own personal anecdote, using facts and figures. They're really good things to use. And like I said before, there's facts and figures about how dangerous it is to cycle in England. So if you were doing that, this task, and you were writing to argue that that cars are dangerous, then there's lots of facts and figures in the article from the previous paper that you could borrow to put in there. So really good idea to include facts and figures. Just make them sort of believable. You don't want to say 100% of pedestrians have been knocked over by cars, because it's not a believable fact, but you can create believable facts and figures to include in your own writing. Rhetorical questions, and saw he used a couple, and they, like I said, they're very persuasive and using emotive language. What words can you choose to really sort of tug on the heartstrings of your reader and persuade them that your point of view is the correct one? Okay, so what you're going to do now is just have a little practice writing some persuasive language to persuade. So there's an assignment on Classroom. Just want you to write one paragraph. We're just practicing at the moment. We're not writing full letters or anything. So your task then, your friend wants to go back to college to improve her qualifications, but feels anxious about taking the plunge. Write one paragraph to persuade her to go back to college. Use persuasive language techniques. So think about those ones that Marcus Rashford used, and can you use any good persuasive techniques in your paragraph to persuade your friend? So that is an assignment to complete on Classroom. The last thing, I'm just going to tell you about homework, and then you don't have to pause the video anymore. So homework is going to be to improve your answer for question 3, boats. So in a minute, I know I'm telling you about homework, but it doesn't mean that the lesson's finished, because Sam has done some more videos about that marking, how the examiners have marked and how we've marked your paper 2 question 3, so your language question on boats. So you've got other videos and tasks to complete for that. So for today's lesson, you've got one paragraph on persuading your friend to go back to college, and you have got the videos and the tasks for paper 2 question 3. I think there's 3 answers that you're marking and checking. And then your homework is to rewrite, once you've done all this, is to have another go at your question 3 boats. Again, we'll try and get around to marking at some point. We're still ploughing on through your assessments, and we want to focus on those for the moment. So please use a new assignment to complete. It's not a competition. We'd like you to complete it. Okay, great. See you all next week.